Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Our top focus this evening, let's go across to Shireen Bhan for our special coverage of the Flipkart-Walmart deal.
We told you first that it is now a done deal. It is the world's largest e-commerce deal. Walmart and Flipkart have put pen to paper in what can be described as a bittersweet moment for Indian e-commerce and the startup universe. The deal will mark the largest foreign direct investment into India and will surpass the SR Rosneft deal. This will also mark Walmart's biggest ever acquisition in the e-commerce space. The Walmart Global CEO Doug McMillon is in Bengaluru at the Flipkart headquarters, and the deal, we understand, has been inked. Inspired by Amazon, they began Flipkart.com in 2007. The web portal began with just 4 lakh rupees and 50,000 titles.
Book comes for as low as 100 rupees. So it's very easy for the customer to trust you with that first transaction.
Would you be okay with being bought out?
We're probably not okay. We're not looking at selling off to a competitor or to anybody else.
If you are not watchful, if you miss the boat, if you don't think about innovation like 25 times a day, it's so easy to become irrelevant.
As long as the players act according to that, that is for them to take decisions between them. The government, I don't think, has any view.
Let the market decide. You know, the market is the best place. Right. Government is at arm's length in all this.
Well, what a journey it has been. The speculation now ends. It is going to be Walmart and Flipkart coming together. So let's take you through what we do know. Walmart is likely to acquire up to 75% stake for $15 billion. Like I mentioned, this is the largest inbound foreign direct investment into India, surpassing Rosneft's investment into SR, which was worth nearly $13 billion. This deal worth $15 billion. So who is staying and who is likely to exit? SoftBank, we understand, will exit, selling its stake of about 22%. That, of course, has been confirmed now by the SoftBank CEO as well. Co-founder Sachin Bansal is going to leave the company, is what we are given to understand. But the other co-founder, Binny Bansal, is going to stay on. Kalyan Krishnamurthy will continue, possibly as the CEO. Among other investors, Naspers is likely to exit, but the early investors, Tencent, Tiger Global and Axel Partners, could hold on to their stake and not exit completely at this point in time. In fact, we are given to understand that Tencent and Tiger Global will back the Flipkart leadership team going forward. Now, Walmart is planning to pump in about $2 billion as fresh funding. Sources also say that Walmart will fund the deal by using cash in hand as well as newly issued debt. So this is going to be interesting, not just for Walmart and Flipkart in India, but for Walmart globally. This is part of Walmart's international strategy as well, and India is going to be a critical market. But let's now go across to Priya Sheth. Priya, SoftBank is making solid returns on its investments. What about the others? Who holds how much stake, and what are the kind of valuations that we're looking at?
Well, Flipkart has had over 50 investors in its journey over the last decade, and 6 of the major investors, barring SoftBank, hold about 55% stake in Flipkart. Now, let's look at a potential payout scenario. We understand from sources that SoftBank will be completely exiting. In fact, SoftBank, which has a present shareholding of about 22.3% at a valuation of $20 billion, it could receive a payout of about $4.5 to $5 billion. Similarly, for Sachin Bansal, who is the founder at Flipkart, we understand that he is likely to exit the company completely, and if at all he does exit his shareholding, he is likely to receive a payout of about $1 billion with a present shareholding of about 5.96%. Similarly, Naspers, which has been a long-time investor in Flipkart, has a present shareholding of about 13.76% at a valuation of about $20 billion. The payout could be in the range of about $2.5 billion. Talking about partial exits now, Tiger Global, which has played a critical role as far as Flipkart's journey in India is concerned, has a present shareholding of over 20%, and it's likely that they will exit partially, but we don't know as to what is the tune at which they will retain their shareholding. Similarly, for Tencent and Axel, with the present shareholding at around 6%, we do understand that there are partial exits that are likely for these investors as well. Of course, this is source-based information as far as the exits are concerned. We'll have to wait and watch how the deal shapes up and what really the final shareholding remains in the entity going forward.
Well, thanks very much, Priya. We do need to wait for at least another 20-odd minutes is what we're given to understand. 4:30 India time is when we expect the official announcement to come in. But let's go across to Rukmini Rao now. She joins us from the Flipkart, or outside the Flipkart headquarters in Bengaluru. She has spoken with Flipkart employees who are at this point in time trying to get a sense of how life is going to change for them post this mega deal. Rukmini, Doug McMillan at the Flipkart headquarters. We are given to understand that the signing has already taken place. You know, what's the reaction there that you've got from employees? How are they reading this deal?
Well, the biggest acquisition in the Indian e-commerce space is a done deal. Walmart has signed a definitive agreement to acquire majority stake in Flipkart, and in fact, the global team of Walmart has been here at the Flipkart's office right behind me since today morning, and that includes the CEO of the company. I also ended up speaking to a few employees of Flipkart, asking them what they think of this deal, and all of them said that sounds very good and very exciting for them. Also, one of them, in fact, told me that a top management of the company had indicated a couple of weeks ago that there's not going to be much of a change, that employees will have to face at the operational level going forward as well. And also what we understand from our sources is that there's going to be a town hall where, in all likelihood, the leadership of Walmart and Flipkart, of course, will be addressing the employees to help them understand what this means for them, and also going forward, what is the roadmap for the company. Back to you.
All right, Rukmini, appreciate you joining us there from outside the Flipkart headquarters in Bengaluru, where the Walmart and Flipkart teams are likely to address an employee town hall shortly. Now, to take the discussion forward, to understand what this means for Walmart and its foray in India, what this means for Flipkart's future, and what it means for Indian e-commerce and for you and me as consumers, we're joined by Ashish Kashyap, the founder and former CEO of Ibibo, the former DIPP Secretary Ajay Dua, Gurcharan Das, the former CEO of PNG India, Shanti Mohan, founder at Let's Venture, and of course, Sachit Gogia here with me in the Delhi studio. Guests, appreciate you joining us here on the show. Shanti, let me come to you first. You know, before we talk about the structure of this deal, the complexity of this deal, the possible integration challenges and so on and so forth, let's talk about Sachin and Binny Bansal. I mean, you know, what value these two young entrepreneurs, Indian entrepreneurs, have been able to create in about a decade. This is India's largest foreign direct investment inbound deal at $15 billion. Reliance BP, SR Rosneft, much lower than this. You know, the kind of value that these two young entrepreneurs have been able to create. Shanti, let's first talk about that.
Yeah, so in my mind, I think the very obvious takeaway is the wealth which has been created in the Indian ecosystem. And, you know, just looking at Flipkart, they have been one of the leading players, more like an icon for a lot of the founders in the ecosystem, as well as now they have created the biggest exit. So the obvious kind of takeaway is the wealth which has been created, but I think beyond that, I think it is the world's largest retailer entering into the Indian market, and that's a huge signal for the market in the sense the value of what the Indian market is capable of creating. And I think that is more exciting because it is a co-option of the offline and the online retail play which is going to happen, which goes beyond just plain e-commerce play. And you know, that is one. And second is, of course, the value of ESOPs, which is going back to employees today. So as a founder of a startup myself, you know, we have been, I mean, we have people who work for startups with the aspiration of creating wealth. And that has become a reality today. So
yes.
I think the value of ESOP today will be a lot more understood by the founders and the ecosystem.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I've been speaking with a lot of startup founders, and they tell me that this is a bittersweet moment for India's startup ecosystem. On one hand, I mean, this is India's largest FDI deal, so this is a validation of India's entrepreneurial zeal and entrepreneurial strength, specifically of these two young entrepreneurs. But in a sense, it's also the fact that this was a homegrown brand that's now being taken over by a global retail giant. But Ajay Dua, let me come to you now. You know, it hasn't been an easy entry for Walmart into India. It's been a difficult past for India. They had to end their joint venture with Bharti. This is perhaps Walmart's bet now on India via Flipkart. You know, politically, we are going to see the usual noises from the Kates, etc., which we've already started to see. But I would imagine that unless Walmart had the comfort of putting this kind of money into the Indian market, they wouldn't have gone ahead of this deal ahead of the 2019 elections. I know for a fact that the Walmart senior leadership met with Prime Minister Modi. It was a one-on-one meeting in Washington, D.C., when the Prime Minister was there meeting with President Trump. So unless there was political comfort, Walmart was unlikely to have put in this kind of money. Wouldn't you agree, sir?
I would, Shireen, totally with that, because the kind of money we are talking about is huge. $20 billion valuation of the company, exchange of shares worth $15 billion, even though these might be held mostly outside the country, and the deal may not result in actual inflow of FDI into the country, because most of the shareholders, and as was in the introduction itself mentioned by one of your colleagues, that between 6 of them, overseas investors, they hold 57% of the company. That apart, the fact of the matter is that the valuation of $20 billion is something which Walmart has agreed to, which is much more than what it was or what was possibly even conceived of by Sachin and Binny, the co-founders of this company. So, despite the fact that today Walmart has only 21 cash and carry stores in India, and they've had to sever their connection with Bharti some time ago, yet they are optimistic, they are buoyant, and I would even say realistic about the potential of the Indian retail market. All kinds of estimates, including one which puts it at close to $600 billion. Most of it in the unorganized sector, but fast moving to the formalized and as well as to the e-commerce sector. The fact that a company as, I would say, as perceptive as Walmart has taken on this challenge, put in its money, and is they wouldn't have done this, I would totally agree with you, unless they had the political comfort, whether it came from Prime Minister Modi, whom they had met in the US, or it has come from various other investors in India, including the way the competitor for Walmart in the e-commerce space is going to be Amazon in India, and Amazon has put in, by all estimates, close to $10 billion of investment in the e-commerce space itself. And there was an announcement yesterday that another $500 million, that's about 2,700 crore rupees, or say a little less than $500 million, is also planned to be put into the Indian market. So it is both a political comfort which they have probably secured, but also their own assessment of how the Indian market is likely to move forward, which has propelled Walmart, despite its fairly slow growth so far in the Indian market, to take on this, I would say, enter with such large
you make several
valuation.
Right. You make several interesting and valid points there, Mr. Dua. But let me go across to Sachit now. And Sachit, you know, as Mr. Dua was pointing out, this is actually not going to be a two-way battle. It's going to be a three-way battle, because it's hard to ignore Alibaba that is going to play out in the Indian market via Paytm Mall. So it's Walmart via Flipkart, Amazon India, and Paytm Mall, where Alibaba is the proxy. But let me ask you about, you know, everyone's speculating on if Amazon was interested in Walmart as well. Wouldn't it made more sense for Flipkart to go the Amazon route? Why go the Walmart route? Now, my understanding is that of the two offers, Walmart wanted to follow much more of a partnership model, so leave Flipkart to operate pretty much as is. Let the leadership team remain pretty much as is. Also, the possibility of a future IPO, whereas in Amazon's case, it would have been Flipkart being subsumed into Amazon India. How would you read it, the decision for Flipkart to go the Walmart route as opposed to the Amazon route?
It's a great question, Shireen. Thank you very much. So clearly, I don't really believe that Flipkart as part of Amazon would have done wonders. Clearly, as you very rightly said, it's like a big fish eating the small fish. And the value that Flipkart has created over the years would have actually gone off the drain, really. Having said that, though, we must also not forget about the CCI, the Competition Commission of India. The big question mark is, would have CCI even allowed for the Amazon-Flipkart merger to happen? Actually, not really. Yes, would have been a great story to be told to the world. You know, Amazon comes in and buys. But actually, guess what? Walmart brings a lot more onto the table in this deal compared to Amazon. If you think about it, by our estimates at Greyhound, 5% of the total retail sales would come from e-commerce by 2020. Now, Amazon and Flipkart put together would have just actually addressed that 5%. Now, whereas if you think about Walmart and Flipkart coming together, that's a 100% sweet spot right there. Now, the 95% market, which is still the traditional retail, of which 90% is unorganized, is the sweet spot of Walmart, which Amazon just couldn't have actually addressed at all. Also, if you come to think about it, Walmart's business in India is least understood. Of course, one part is the 21 cash and carry stores, but the bigger business is the sourcing business that they have in the country, and also the technology business. So the kind of vertical back-end integration and the front-end integration that a Walmart would bring to Flipkart, that's just a lot more than what even Amazon could even imagine, actually.
Well, again, several interesting points that you make, Sanchit, there about the kind of synergies that we can expect on the back end as well as the front end and the opportunities that this throws up. But let me go across to Gurcharan Das, the former CEO of P&G India. Mr. Das, appreciate you joining us. I started by talking about the troubled history that Walmart has had in India. It's ironic that it was this government that was so vociferously against multi-brand retail, going after the previous government over the FDI that had come in from Walmart. There was a parliamentary committee that was set up and so on and so forth. But that apart now, there is the e-commerce opportunity, as Sanchit was pointing out. There is also this greater opportunity on the offline side, the formalization, so to speak. I am given to understand that as part of the blueprint that the two sides of Walmart and Flipkart have put together, there is going to be significant investment in deepening the penetration into rural India, setting up the rural infrastructure, supply chain, logistics, making that whole supply chain more efficient, and also the global play, access to Flipkart sellers to the Walmart global platform and the Walmart global supply chain. How critical is that going to be, and how could that perhaps change the dynamics?
Well, that's the game changer. I think for both for India and for Flipkart, really the beneficiary, the biggest beneficiary to me is going to be the Indian farmer. Because what Walmart does better than almost any company, any big retailer in the world, is the efforts they make in getting fresh farm produce to the cities at the lowest cost. And I remember, because when Walmart went to Africa, they did not start by setting up stores. They spent the first 2 years in countries like Nigeria getting the farmers to grow the right kind of potatoes, the right kind of tomatoes, the quality that they were going to bring to it. And so what happened actually was the farmers were huge beneficiaries. So the reality here is that you and I, supposing we buy tomatoes today at 20 rupees a kilo. Well, those 20 rupees a kilo, the farmer only gets 4 or 5 rupees. The rest of it it is at the mandi, the artiya, who takes part the cut, the wholesaler, the retailer, the rediwala, and finally it comes to you and you pay 20 rupees. Well, if you have if you go past this chain and you can buy directly from the farmer, a farmer will get 8 rupees or 10 rupees, you'll pay 15 rupees. And plus, the other big thing here is that they have, because they have created already a supply chain with 20 large stores which serve retailers, those retailers will serve as points of delivery. In every retailer, think of a store in store, a little Walmart within that store, which will be managed by Walmart, ensuring that the neighborhood gets the product at the right quality at the right price. So it's a very big deal, and it will create a huge number of jobs.
Yes, you believe that it will create a huge number of jobs, and I would imagine that this is going to be the sales pitch.
I think this is
this will be the sales pitch, Mr. Das, to try and allay any concerns and apprehensions, because, and I'll tell you why, because we've already seen statements coming in. We heard from Kate already, and now the Retailers Association of India putting out a statement saying, we believe that some e-commerce companies in India have not been adhering to the guidelines issued under Press Note 3 of the FDI policy for marketplaces. These companies have been directly or indirectly participating in pricing and discounting, which is against the policy that seeks to create a level playing field. We hope that the government will take positive steps, and so on and so forth. So we're going to see a lot more of this play itself out. But let me quickly get in a quick word in from Ashish Kashyap. Ashish, you know, as a founder who eventually exited, you can understand the predicament of Sachin Bansal and Binny Bansal. Binny, of course, is staying on, is what we're given to understand, but Sachin is going to exit. What do you believe is going through their mind today? As I pointed out, it's likely to be a bittersweet moment.
Yeah, definitely, Shireen, bittersweet is the right word. I think a lot of founders love freedom. And clearly, you know, in the new construct, while, you know, Walmart would like to encourage as much of an entrepreneurial behavior, but it becomes hard for founders, you know, to operate in a super structured environment or operate in an environment where operations are controlled, you know, by someone else. So I think obviously on one hand they would feel fulfilled, but on the other hand, you know, it's really, really hard to give up the baby that you created.